everybody, and welcome to this edition of Sports Talk. I'm Jimmy Allinder, your host, and I'm joined, as always, by the Supervisor of Athletics, Frank Noppenberger. Frank, thank you for joining us, and this really is a time of celebration because of the most recent Central Jersey Group 4 football championship. First time I've ever said that. That is amazing. It is significant, but I'm going to let you just talk about this for a second, and we're going to give it its due right now. Then we're going to go into all the other fall sports which have just concluded, and that's the reason why we're really here.
Right.
But I don't want to give football short shrift because this has been the most outstanding season probably in East Brunswick history. Would you agree with that?
With football?
Yes.
It's probably because of the culmination of winning the championship. We've had many exciting years and teams, but I would have to say, you know, if you're basing it on the championship, this was it. But as you know, they also won on paper a championship in the 72 season. On paper, they were 7-1-1, and they got a championship. This was before playoffs, and I believe it was 64. They were sectional champions, all on paper.
Yeah.
But this is the first time ever what was done on the field.
Well, with all due respect to paper championships, I think probably the best thing you can say about winning a championship through, I guess, a vote, so to speak, is that you get a nice trophy that's probably tarnished right now in that glass case near the gymnasium.
I'm looking for it. I know it's up there. I'm looking for it.
And I think this season sort of demonstrates that, because I don't think anybody had a right to say that East Brunswick would be the favorite going into that Central Jersey Group 4 final against Jackson.
Well, Jim, I don't think we were the favorite at any of the games.
Interesting you say that.
Although we were the higher seed because of PowerPoints, everybody was picking, I don't think anybody picked Jackson except my daughter Christine and the coaching staff, and me, of course. But everyone was picking Jackson. And the Hillsborough thing, they had the better reputation coming in. So we were the underdog. And I tell you what, we stepped it up a little bit being the underdog. Although we were higher seeded, I think we were considered the underdog. But before we get to that, a special thank you to you, for Richie, for Ken and Brady and everyone who's helped put these TV3 shows on TV, and just a lasting memory. And already talking about football, the games you guys did, because I know you did the playoff games, they're going to be on a lot of shelves for a long, long time.
It was really a pleasure. I didn't know, and I won't know until years later, how impactful they may be, but I can tell you this, all those seasons that East Brunswick has had good success, except for a precious few this year because they won the championship. I'm likely not to forget the name Matt Mariano,
right.
John Park, Dan Fessel. I don't want to miss anybody. Jimmy McCluskey. It was just an incredible pleasure to watch these kids. And I'll also say it, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this the nucleus of the team that played in those state championship Pop Warner programs?
If they weren't state champs in Pop Warner, they were close to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely the nucleus. And you talk about what you're never going to forget. Are you ever going to forget Ralph Denise's punts?
Yeah.
Plural. A and B. But here's some more irony in this whole thing, and if you've been reading the paper, you talk about Marcus.
I was looking at that article.
Well, in the playoffs, Pop Warner State Championships this year, East Brunswick is in it and played at Rutgers.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, and they won.
Is that a fact?
And you know who their opponent was?
Jackson. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an irony. And I was.
And the Waite kid is a young man on our team who coached the Pop Warner team and played in the other game the other night. Pretty interesting.
I would say so. There is irony. I was reading the article that was in the Central Jersey Home News, which chronicled all the coincidences, if you will.
Marcus.
Okay, and that it was in the stars. I think it's a nice angle. Okay, but I'll also tell you this. It really doesn't touch on the real essence of this team, and that is the heart of a champion. that's what won it for East Brunswick.
Well, I
this group has a heart of a champion.
Yeah, that will to win was there for them. You know, they never panicked, they never lost their poise, a lot of composure, and, you know, the old "you gotta believe," that was there.
All right, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this
I hope
as
we
time
do.
allows.
I hope
because
we have plenty of time.
I'm sure you have some further thoughts on this whole thing. But let's not give short shrift to these wonderful fall sports. Again, Lou Cosa in how many years? Who knows?
20-something, yeah.
Coaching the girls soccer team to an 18-3 record. Consistency to excellence. That's the program right there.
3 losses, all by a goal. The last game to Brick Memorial, who went on to be state champ, and every game they won was by a goal, except maybe the finals, that may have been 2. You got to be a little bit lucky at times, and maybe we're unlucky at the wrong time. But the girls seniors, the girls soccer team played probably 2 of the most exciting games that I can ever remember in the GMC semis, where they beat Piscataway in sudden victory, and then in the GMC finals where they beat Woodbridge in a back and forth game. There was a lot of tears, including me, and the players out there for those 2 victories. I'm very close to one of the players. But you talk about 2 exciting games and the emotion, and it's funny how they kind of supported one another, football and soccer. There was a support group with each there. So to Coach Cosa, Lauren Esposito, our seniors, Amanda Nagy, Stephanie Blanner, and my favorite, Caroline Noppenberger, 4 outstanding seniors who've just done a great job in leading us, and we wish them luck. However, next year, and Laura Vollison, there's another senior. Next year, we're going to be just as good in girls soccer. We've got a lot of young kids coming back, Allison Riccio, Chrissy Lang, what's the other name? There's a few, I'll get to them.
Sure.
But we're going to be okay again next year.
Is there any reason to doubt that there would be a drop-off? I can't imagine.
No, we're just going to reload.
Yeah.
But they've got to understand the feeling of, my new expression now is of the fire truck escort, which our football team received on Route 18 after winning the championship. It's a tradition we're going to start, and that was a great feeling, and they've got to start wanting that Group 4 state championship because it's been away too long.
Yeah. I'm tempted to say that with so much winning going on in the soccer programs, both boys and girls, you always get the great athletes, but I don't know if they're the extraordinarily better than a lot of the competition. I think it's really the system that's in place, and everything that goes along with that really is responsible for this success in this sport.
No, it starts from guys like Joe Caruso, who coaches a lot of these kids, and Mike Smith, who coached a lot of these kids, right up through the varsity coach. You know, a lot of people don't give Coach Merrigan and Coach Cosa the credit. Well, they've got all that talent. Well, so's Joe Torrey. And you got to put the people in the right place at the right time. And they've been able to do it for 20-something years. Without a doubt, our program's as good as anyone in the state. And I'll say it right now, and anytime we'll play anyone, anytime, any place.
And you usually do. Well, congratulations to Lou for the success he's had with the girls soccer team. And while we're at it, let's look at boys soccer, if we may.
Sure.
Coached again by really one of the veterans now in the state, Dan Haston. The record this year was 13-7-2. Your comments?
The AD may have overscheduled a little bit.
You just contradicted yourself.
Put him in well, see, I put him in a couple back-to-back situations, and I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, I don't want to put us at a disadvantage, and I don't think I contradicted myself, but to have the kids go back-to-back is a tough situation. And we lost a couple games in overtime, and it was just one of those years we just couldn't get the timely goal. But with kids like Ricky Lasky and Matt Metch out there leading us, and Brandsdorfer, nobody wanted to play us. Everyone knew what it was like to play the Bears, and we'll be back. No predictions, but we'll be back next year, stronger and better.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of the soccer program for this fall. Let's move on to cross country, where the dual meet records certainly were very satisfying. The boys coached by Rick Murray with a 6-1 record, and the girls coached by Mike Talbot with a 4-2 record.
Boys cross country, one loss again to Old Bridge. We were right there with them. We took a second in the conference. We qualified for the Group 4 state championships again, which is an accomplishment. It's almost like making the playoffs in football. Not everyone does it. You have to qualify for it. And they had a real good team. A couple injuries near the end of the year kind of hurt it a little bit. Danny Gilbert came down with an illness, an injury, and he was able to come back, but he wasn't at 100%. But Greg Bull was one of our star runners all year. Danny Gilbert's a junior, and we got a sophomore, Erica Sorkin, coming around. So we'll be again next year. We'll be good, and then Neil Reveley, another senior, did a great job for us. Coach Murray is one of the outstanding coaches in Middlesex County in the state as far as cross country, and certainly one of the better ones at East Brunswick. He's developed the program into a consistently power. Girls cross country under Coach Talbot, again, injuries. Our leading runner, Megan Donovan, came down with shin splints. We had a young girl named Sarah Smith, as a freshman, came up, placed in the counties, and became our #1 runner. So cross country's got another star in Danny, and of course in Sarah Smith, and they'll be all right next year.
All righty. And I guess this will carry over into the winter and spring
well,
track
they're out there
programs.
right today. Is this beautiful day we had there.
It's raining out.
They're out there running the hallways, and working on weightlifting and jumping rope, and some of them are even outside running. So they work at it all year.
Okay. But a good indoor sport for East Brunswick is the volleyball program. And this played in the fall is the girls program, coached by Greg Rutz, which they had a 14-8 record.
We lost inside the division. We took a 3rd place, and inside the conference tournament, we made it to the semis. We qualified for the state again, and it's Middlesex County volleyball for girls isn't that strong. We're one of the better ones around. I would consider this a down year for us with that record. We're capable of doing much better, and next year I think we will be better. We've got the young girl Strapko coming back, and Anna's coming back, so I think Jen Strapko and Anna T, with them coming back with big hits, and Coach Rutz will certainly develop a setter, because that's what he does best. You can see that by the boys volleyball. We'll be okay, and I think we'll challenge for a conference next year.
And that's saying something by saying challenging for the conference, because I think a few years ago it was almost a given that East Brunswick
Well, we were always one of the favorites.
Yeah.
And we may be a favorite again this year.
Right.
We just lost a couple close ones again.
But I think it says something about the popularity of volleyball that other schools, every year you see more and more adding on. I don't know how many are in the GMC at this point.
Well, we have 6 right now, but it's growing.
Okay, and it's really, you wonder if it's stealing from other sports. Maybe it is.
Well, that's the big argument when we try to move it to the spring. There's so many offerings for the girls in the fall, and we tried to move it to the spring and it didn't work. But I don't think it's hurting either of our programs, any of the fall programs, that is.
All righty. We have to mention the cheerleading squad, coached by Michelle Sperduto. They were very visible this fall.
Yeah, and didn't they do a great job at Rutgers? I just thought they were outstanding, very classy. They let us in with the Bears, and congratulations to them. And we've had many All-Americans, and this year one of our outstanding ones was Nicole Galucci, and she's actually the athlete of the week for us this year. So
how's the knee doing, by the way?
Better. But they never get the due credit, and they go into some competitions, and they go 5-6 days a week. Sometimes they break the rules, Jim, on NC2A practice time.
Wait a minute, we're on the air here.
Right, because they cheer Monday for the boys, Tuesday for the girls, football. They sometimes go 5 or 6 days in a row, and they never complain. And we appreciate them, and they're the best around.
That's great. And I always remember the and there was a lot of opportunities to go into that routine after a touchdown was scored at a football game, where the music was blaring.
Right. The candy song, that's in the back of my head for the rest of my life. I want candy. They got to come up with a new one.
Okay, well, all you have to do is submit it to Michelle. I don't know. We'll see. We'll look forward to watching them during the basketball season as well. Okay, another good, solid sport for East Brunswick is field hockey, coached by Cindy Todoroff. The record this year, 10-6.
Missed one of the most exciting field hockey games ever. We went up to Hillsborough and played them in the state tournament. And we lost in overtime on a controversial call, but the kids and the coaches couldn't stop talking about the excitement of the game, and they played it on turf, which is interesting. It gives a truer role for the ball, and maybe we're turf teams. We certainly proved that in football, and you know, someday maybe we'll have turf at East Brunswick, but it certainly helped with our girls that we were able to get on some fields and practice some turf. But the field hockey team made it to the semis of the nope, they didn't make it to the semis of the GMC, but they qualified for the state tournament. They had a third place in the division, and Erin Whalen, Agata Kowski, great senior leadership. Andrea Blanner is an outstanding goalie. She's only a junior. Leanne Steiner, we're going to miss her. Allison Lupinacci, we're going to miss her. She had a lot of goals early in the year. Two young kids are going to help us is Christine Buschek and Katie Colchi for next year. And one of the most positive and upbeat coaches is Coach Todoroff, so there's no doubt in my mind we'll be in the middle of it next year again.
That's great. And all kidding aside,
Oh, you don't have to apologize to me, Jim.
I'm apologizing to Cindy as we speak. I know her dedication to this sport is there's no one more dedicated than her, and she wants this sport to succeed. Tell her, see if I can talk to people over at Monroe Township so you can get onto our turf field over there, which I understand the football team was practicing over there.
We may have borrowed that a couple of times.
Why, is that under the cuff? We're not supposed to know that?
No, everybody knew. And
okay.
Thank you to Monroe, if anyone knows the Monroe people out there.
All right.
The superintendent and athletic director, Doug Bailey, thank you.
You're quite welcome on their behalf. And the hits just keep on coming, and I'm talking about hitting a tennis ball.
Oh.
You like that, huh? Karen Grant, the record this year, 16-2. Superlative.
We lost, unfortunately. Bad news for the first time in 15, 16 years, the GMC tournament. We lost 3-2. The girls were devastated, but they did win the division. And you know, after 16 years, that's quite a run. 16, 17, whatever it is.
Sure.
And nothing to be ashamed of. They lost 2. They're rated in the top 20 in the state. As a matter of fact, I think they're 11 and 12. And Marin Rosenberg and Lori Seidman were named to the all-state Group 4 teams in tennis this year, so congratulations, Marin and Lori. Catherine Chen had a good year for us. And next year, we got 2 young kids still playing at singles, Anna and Louisa, coming back for us, so we'll be okay in tennis.
Boy, I wish we could spend more time on tennis. It's the fact that you mentioned.
And then the courts, Jim. The Board of Ed did a great job in getting the courts redone. They're the best around. We hosted a state championship match there this year. They really look sharp.
Great. Gymnastics. Kim Marino's team had a 6-3 record, but they also had some quality individuals on that team.
Absolutely. We had an all-state performer that came out this year. Felicia Massaro on the all-around. She's one of the best we've ever had. And Elisa Conquista was also an all-conference, all-state performer. And a lot of young kids around them. So hopefully they'll feed off of their success into the gymnastics program, because we took a 2nd, we qualified for the states, and we took a 6th in the entire state. No, 6, Jim. Of all the schools that have gymnastics, we're the 6th. If we said we were the 6th best soccer team or football team, this place would be going crazy. But unfortunately, gymnastics doesn't get the recognition in the newspaper, but our girls had an outstanding year, and they peaked at the right time.
Absolutely.
You know, you talk about gymnastics and the numbers, and it's not that it's a dying sport, but it's hard to promote it. Phys ed, Jim, is very important to the athletic program, okay? And that's why to have the proper facilities in the phys ed at Churchill, Hammersholt, and the elementary school to allow these kids to take phys ed, either volleyball, basketball, or whatever we're teaching, and gymnastics is so important to the athletic program. And, you know, and that's what we were talking about before, about we were mentioning the bond referendum and how important it is to the athletic program that these kids can have. And then for the community, with this fast break basketball program we have going, we have hundreds of kids involved in there. And the kids are constantly using the facilities for indoor soccer. So having good facilities is a plus to our athletic program, and we need to continue doing it.
And obviously, these facilities have to be a priority for the high school and for the high school in particular, but also for the entire school system. But you also, in some cases, make it available for the community to use these facilities?
Community's in there all the time.
Sure.
Churchill's used 7 nights a week with volleyball, adult leagues, basketball leagues, volleyball starting up. We're trying to get in there. I know in the wintertime, the softball programs are looking to use gyms, and we just don't have enough gyms right now. The current space isn't available. If this thing does pass, then they'll have an all-purpose room and a gym, and that helps with phys ed too. As you know, I'm the phys ed supervisor, and sometimes we lose phys ed time because an assembly comes in. So it's all kind of related, you know, education, and we're all together on this. So, but we have nice facilities, but we just need to maintain them, get them a little better.
I understand. We don't want to forget our able trainer, Phil Hostler, and his staff. I want to congratulate him on a great fall as well.
Nick, Matt, Yelena, and Callie, congratulations to you guys. Thank you. Another group that don't get the recognition, and they're there all the time. But, you know, it's interesting at the soccer club banquets or the field hockey banquets, they're always recognized because the parents and the athletes recognize their importance.
Any news on college commitments from anyone at this point?
You and I were discussing my man Danny Fessel. Danny's getting $10,000 to go to Drexel to play lacrosse.
They don't have a football team down there, do they?
No, but he's a lacrosse guy.
Okay.
I have not heard of anything else.
Okay. Well, we want to keep tabs on that because, you know, you look at this entire athletic program, probably the real focal piece when people think of East Brunswick, okay, is, well, let's take a closer look at this athlete. You know, I'm talking about a college, looking at it. There is an advantage to having the success that you do, and that people recognize East Brunswick's for its program.
Well, I think what you're saying is absolutely right, but, you know, how many people have told me, kids have come back and said, you know, Mr. Knopp, we were so well prepared academically. I mean, we're headed, and it's hard to, I don't know what any other school is like. I went to high school in South River. I never taught at another school, another high school. So I'm not sure what their athletic program, how it runs, or what they do, or what their academics are like. But I hear nothing from accolades from higher education schools, colleges, and our kids when they come back. I mean, I can't tell you how many kids came back and told me how well they were prepared for college football because of Marcus and basketball because of Reggie. They kept saying it's like, you know, it was like a cakewalk at college compared to those guys.
Absolutely.
So,
tell me about the emotions that you went through at that football game on Sunday. Where were you?
Two stories. I have the game ball. I went in the field goal that was short. I went and picked it up.
Have the game ball?
I picked it up. I got it.
Okay.
And I held it, and I had a tear in my eye, and I went over and I hugged Coach Steinfeld, a guy who I coached. In that one game we were just talking about in '84, and we probably cried back then, and we cried again today or the other day. It was very emotional for me because I wanted to win, and I felt somewhat part of the football tradition there.
As well you should.
Well, thanks. And then, you know, I coached, you know, 10 years, and then I was there with Mr. Remery, who's been around the whole time, and the Pizinko boys who both played in the finals, and then Marcus and I hugged, and I thanked him for everything he did. And it was very emotional, and the only way I can describe it is I was numb, just like the kids. To see the kids crying and laughing, and to see Ralph Denise he was sitting on the steps. I missed him. He was sitting on the steps just crying his eyes out.
Was he?
He just couldn't control himself.
That's amazing.
Then the mayor and the superintendent of schools, they hooked up an escort with the fire company for us. And
we have no downtown, do we?
They took us down Route 18, and the Pazinko boys, who I had to drive back from the game, Matt and Glenn, made me, I didn't break any rules, get into the caravan. So I was in there, and we're driving down Route 18, beeping the horn.
Sure.
Mr. Emery's waving everybody. And then another time I cried is the tradition at East Brunswick High School is when you come to the bottom of the hill, you go up the hill.
Absolutely.
You sing the alma mater. Well, you could hear the bus in front of you, the words bellowing out.
Is that a fact?
Then the Pazinko started singing in my car, the alma mater. Then Emery started, then Hosser and I started, and I was sitting there crying going up the hill.
Oh,
the community got behind us. It was just a great, great day to be a Bear.
Yes, it was.
And there's nothing like winning a state sectional championship in football.
There's nothing like winning a state championship in football.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true. It is what everybody will remember.
Right.
And I guess that's what made it so, you just don't want to forget about this moment.
I think the way how it came about, and like you said too, guys like Johnny Park, overachievers, Little McCloskey, Dave Dalton, that crackback block he had there. These are things you're never going to forget. Rob Aiello, and then the Devon Jones, that catch he made. Every little piece had came together.
Yes, it did.
Everyone did. Greg Byrne, his blocks. Everyone did their point.
Yes.
I mean, even the punt by Ralph Denise at the end of the game, and I keep mentioning him. Not to even talk about Mariano, his consistency throughout the whole year. Zelak, who broke off that long run. Everyone contributed. The sidelines, the atmosphere on the sideline was absolutely great.
Yes.
And then our fans. I got to thank the crew, the cheerleading guys out there, not the cheerleaders, but the guys who cheer.
Right.
Occasionally I get out on them because they sometimes use the wrong words, but they were outstanding, and I do appreciate their support. And when they were chanting defense, defense, I'm telling you, they heard it on the field, and that meant a lot.
Well, you're talking about one game, but I'm talking about the entire season. It's something that will be long remembered for East Brunswick High School. And Mr. Noppenberger, believe it or not, we have run out of time. I know we want to talk more about this, but we got the whole winter.
Yeah,
so
we don't want to let it go. We don't want to let it go.
Okay, so I want to offer my congratulations to the entire football staff, to you and your staff, as well as the football team. They're very special kids, and I hope to talk to them personally when I see them at the basketball games this year. But thank you very much for being with us. So for Frank Noppenberger, this is Jimmy Allinder saying thank you for being with us.